Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Erica Madison, and this is the January 2026 gathering of the Intentional Professionals community. It's great to see you all. We have some fresh faces and some folks who are returning, so great to see you all. I see the message from Seth that you are moving around, so you will be off camera for much of the time. So thanks for the notice about that. And we have a couple more folks joining, so we'll give them a chance to enter the space. Good to see you. Hi, Jackie. Welcome.
Hi, good to be here. Hi, everybody.
Welcome, welcome. All right, so we're going to kick off with in the chat, what is one word that describes how you're feeling today? Go ahead and pop it in the chat. All right. A range of emotions. Okay, so for the folks who are like, where am I? What's happening? I'm frazzled, I'm scattered. I like to do a few deep breaths to get ourselves present, get our heads in the game, remember why we're here, what we're here for. So feel free to join me. Do three breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth, nice and slow, and go for it. Right. I feel better. I hope you do too. Okay, maybe a couple shoulder rolls, maybe some neck rolls. Kind of like, don't worry about whatever just happened 5 minutes ago or an hour ago, or the news you were maybe listening to, or whatever. Just being here together, creating this intentional space. Um, so the way we'll structure today is we'll go around and share some wins. And as you do this, I'm going to invite you to just include a couple of sentences about yourself, where you're based, just in like a sentence or two, what kind of like brought you to this space, and then share a win. And a win is really anything to celebrate. It doesn't have to be about your career. It might be just any kind of learning, growth, new developments, great interaction you just had, some lovely time in nature. It could be anything. I got to play with a neighbor golden retriever puppy this morning for a couple of minutes, and just like watching the puppy rolling around and scampering around and running in circles and everything. It's like it's pretty magical. So that's my win for today. So yeah, just a couple sentences about yourself, since a bunch of you haven't met before, and what's one win you'd like to share. We'll go around. I'll just ask you to, choose someone to go to next. And then from there, we will talk about some challenges that you are experiencing. I'll do some live coaching with folks who volunteer for that. And we will finish up with what is one specific next step that you are committing to yourself to take between now and the next time we meet, which will be in about a month. So who would like to kick us off with quick intro and a win?
I'd be happy to go since I'm going to have to hop off the screen again.
Please go for it, Seth.
But really happy to meet the new folks here. My name is Seth Fetterspiel. I've been working with Erica since the end of the summer. Um, and I've been, yeah, in the midst of a job transition. My old position got eliminated, but I had a pretty good run time. So I was trying to really take advantage of that time to explore my longer term goals and find a role that would be a good fit going forward. Um, my win is that so I ended up with a part-time job for now that can turn into a full-time job in the summer if I want it to, which is great. But my win is that in the meantime, I'm just starting this week a second part-time job in the conservation field that I'm interested in moving towards. So I'm going to be teaching after-school programs for Mass Audubon, which is one of the big conservation organizations here in Massachusetts. Sorry, I live in Arlington, which is just outside of Boston. Um, yeah, so I'm really excited to get to do teaching again. I started out as a science teacher after college a long time ago. I find that working with kids is really energizing for me. So I'm hoping that that work will both help me continue to explore that new career direction I'm interested in, but also help me find some renewed energy and motivation when the world is getting me down. So we'll see how that goes. My first class is tomorrow.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing, Seth. Very exciting. Who would you like to go over to next?
Oh, sorry. Eric, you want to go next?
Sure. Hi all. My name's Eric. I also live in Boston. I've been working with Erica for a couple of months. I found myself caught up in a layoff after all the kind of craziness at the federal level with all the, money disappearing. So yeah, it's been interesting, really fun working with Erica. Used to do nonprofit work, refugee resettlement, trying to figure out what to do next. And I guess a win for this week. I have been like sick with the plague for like the last 2 weeks, and then finally got back to the gym yesterday and had a great workout, so I'm feeling really good. Um, Hopefully, I don't get sick again. So yeah, good to meet everybody. I guess Jackie, you're next on my screen. So
Cool, I'll go. Oh, hi guys, I'm Jackie. This is my first group session. I just started working with Erica. We had our first session this morning. I do analytics. I currently work for a tech company based in SF, but I'm Boston based, working remotely. Um, I wanted to meet with Erica to talk about career planning and figure out, like, try and be really proactive about what I see as my next steps. So hopefully I am taking the right steps now so that when I am ready to take my next step, I can do it in a really thoughtful way. And and yeah, just trying to grow into like more middle management leadership. Like I'm aspiring to get to that level. Um, let's see. A win. I mean, I had my first session today. Does that count? I thought it went really well, and I really enjoyed getting to actually start talking through some of the stuff I've been thinking about for a while. So, yeah, I'm gonna count that as my win for the day. And I'm gonna popcorn to Jason.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jason. I am based in Boston. I've been working with Erica off and on, like for a couple of years. Like I think we worked together back in 2022. She helped me get promoted to manager, and it went really well. And then I left, and everyone was kind of like, "Jason, why are you leaving your corporate job? Like, it's going really well." But I just wanted to do something different, and everyone's been scratching their heads for a year and a half. And I've been working on the startup Agility MD that I incorporated this summer. And I guess also leading into the win for this week is that there was news passed by the FDA buried behind the food pyramid update that they changed how wearables are regulated. So the difference between wellness data and medical data, and the fact that I deal with only medical data kind of clears a path for my startup here. So it's been kind of an exciting week, like kind of whirlwinds, but yeah, I mean, here I am. Thank you.
Welcome. Okay, thanks so much, everybody, for introducing yourselves and sharing wins. Lots of great stuff to be grateful for and to be celebrating. I was sharing with one of you recently, as humans, we have this thing called a negativity bias. So it is basically in our DNA to be worrying about stuff and looking around and who's trying to get me and everything's wrong and nothing's working. And that's like kind of our default mode. And it actually takes a fair amount of um, thought and effort and care and energy to not just have that be the place where we exist. And to celebrate and be grateful and look at the positive. And by celebrating, we can also create motivation and momentum, because those good feelings that we feel when we talk about the good things that are going on, it can help us want to create more of that. So that is part of why I like to start off these events with talking about things to celebrate. It also helps us get to know each other better and see what each person thinks is significant and meaningful and worth celebrating. So sometimes that's around fitness or wellness. Sometimes that's around social things. Sometimes that has to do with jobs or businesses, career related things. It could be a whole range. So there, I think, a lot of benefits to starting off our time together in this way. So thank you. And I told you about the puppy, so that was mine. Okay, so all right, let's get into some challenges. I'd like to invite everybody to just throw in the chat, if you're able, what is something that is really keeping you up at night right now, stressing you out, frustrating you, has you scratching your head, whatever it might be, just go ahead and throw a few words or sentence into the chat, and then we will see who would like to volunteer for a mini live coaching sesh. For now, we'll just start with the chat. All right, we have a couple in the chat already. Just give it another moment for anybody who wants to add a challenge they're facing right now. And everybody be thinking about if you are game for some live coaching, because I will be looking for volunteers momentarily. All right, so let's get into it. Who would like to share a little bit more context, and then I will offer some questions and we'll do a bit of coaching. We'll also create some space in case your fellow community members have insights or observations they would like to offer. who would like to kick us off? We won't necessarily have time to get to everybody, so if you're really eager to have some coaching, I encourage you to raise your hand, or you can do so physically, or you can use the raise hand feature.
I'd be happy to talk about mine if.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Jackie. Let's do it. So if you could just provide a little bit more context, just a few sentences about what the situation is, and then we'll dive into some coaching.
Yeah, definitely. So I am working on a large project at work. It is very high visibility. We are recalculating one of our core business metrics or rethinking how we're calculating one of our core business metrics, and I'm the person who's boots on the ground doing the work. Importantly, I'm not the person in the meeting with the C-suite when we're delivering updates. And because I'm not the person who's in the room, I'm often sitting here doing work and then being told, oh, we actually need to change the project. We're increasing scope. We're delaying the timeline. We also need to do this. We also need to do that. And I am feeling very frustrated because I really want to be done with this project. But because I'm not the person who is able to be managing the relationship and the decision making, I am feeling very stuck having to deliver what somebody else thinks we need to deliver on the timeline that somebody else thinks we need to do. And I feel as though I've been trying to proactively communicate, document, update, remind. The head of my department is the one managing that relationship, but she's doing a lot of things right now, understandably. So yeah, not sure if there's anything to do, but curious if you have thoughts on anything I could do to be more proactive or manage it differently or um, yeah, be less frustrated by other people making decisions about how I'm spending my time.
Got it. Okay, thanks for sharing. First of all, everyone raise your hand or put something in the chat if you can relate at all to the story that Jackie just started to tell. I know I can. I've managed projects. I've, long-term things that kind of seem to have no end. So just go ahead and throw a yes or a thumbs up or something if you can relate at all. So first of all, there's that. Yeah, we're getting some thumbs up. So yes. I want to go back to one of the things that you said. You said something to the effect of, I want this project to be over. And I'd like to help you explore uh, why that is. Why, I have a guess based on other things you said, but if you had to articulate why you want it to be over, what would you say?
I think it is a couple things. I think the first is that a lot of the work has not been work that I'm most interested in. It's been a lot more engineering than analytics. So that's half. And then I think the other half is that in doing this work, I've been very siloed from the rest of my team. It's just been me off in a corner doing work and then telling people when I've done the work. There hasn't been like a nice, fruitful collaboration. I'm not working with other people to deliver on a goal. So yeah, there's the style of work and then there's also the like quality of work.
Okay. You mentioned the engineering piece. How much of that, I guess what I'm trying to get at is like, how much of the project is really tapping into your skill set and your interests versus how much of the project feels like, whoa, this is like way beyond what I know how to do or what I'm interested in doing. Can you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think a lot of the project has been I'm having to develop skills in an area that I don't necessarily see myself wanting to pursue, or it's been very tedious. I'm having to, crunch a lot of numbers really quickly, and that's just been frustrating. So yeah, it's a lot of stuff I don't really want to be growing in. There are parts that I'm interested in growing in, and I think general project management like growing in that area has been great, but the specific skills I'm having to exercise are not in the wheelhouse I want to be going down further.
And then could you say a little bit more about the other piece you mentioned, which is feeling isolated, like you're not really connected to colleagues, it's not collaborative in the way that you'd like it to be, and so forth.
Yeah, I am ostensibly on a team, but I've been told that I should not be prioritizing my work for that team and I should be prioritizing this project instead. And so I'm seeing my team continuing to move on and do things and work collaboratively, and I'm, keeping a finger on the pulse, but I'm not necessarily able to be fully present or know what's going on. Or like I'm not showing up to the meetings. I'm not being invited to the ongoing updates because they're like, we got to protect Jackie's time. We got to like keep her free to do this other thing.
Okay, that's helpful. To what extent have you had communication with your um your supervisor about how the project is going? And that includes your experience as project lead.
Um, I think I've made it known that I am pretty ready to be done with the project. And then as the delays have been coming down the pipeline, at each point I've been like, hey, like I don't know if we need to delay, or like I'm frustrated that we have to delay. It kind of feels a little bit like rock in a hard place. Like we just like the only way out is through. That's kind of the response I've gotten is like, oh, well, when you're done this project, then you'll be free. Then it'll all be better. But then, it keeps getting pushed out. So I think there's probably more I could do, but since we are close to the end, it feels a little like I don't really need to like rock the boat too much, but I am just like so ready to be done.
Okay, so you're feeling ready to be done, but the project keeps going. Um, when you think about any similar situations that you've been in where something was kind of taking its time to get wrapped up, and maybe you mentally and or emotionally were kind of like, I'm ready to move on. Can you think of a time when you've been through something similar? And if so, how did you handle it?
Mm, I think uh one thing I can think of is when I was in college, I did college swimming, and my senior year, I was really ready to graduate and move on, but we still had our final championship. This was a long time ago, but I just remember the emotional quality of that moment very strongly, and it feels similar to this, which is like the deadline isn't here yet, and I just got to keep going. Um, I think a difference in that case was like the date didn't move. Um, so I kind of just like grin and bear it. So yeah, I don't know that I have particularly good skills around how to handle it, especially when it's moving. I think I'm just like getting more frustrated and feeling more disengaged from work. But I think previously I haven't had things drag out this long, or I would have found a different way to exit.
Do you think if your supervisor knew the full extent of your sort of, let's just say, discontent with the situation, do you think that would make a difference? Like, do you think they would feel motivated to do anything to be supportive or change the situation in some way?
Hmm. I think there would be a desire to change the situation, but I don't know that there would be much they could do. I guess I could make it a little bit more known in hopes that they could advocate more loudly for us to get it over the finish line and stop delaying. Like I think that was probably the only place, I don't know, maybe it's worth mentioning more explicitly.
So one thing you can also be doing is kind of like we've been talking about kind of you and like your experience working on the project and how you want it to be over, and it's been very you centric.
Yeah.
If you sort of zoom out for a moment and you look at the company or you look at your team or you look at this entity that this project is in conjunction with or what have you, and you zoom out, take that high level view looking down on the situation, um sort of take yourself out of it as much as you can. What would you say is really important to your company or your team or your direct supervisor? Like, what really matters to them?
Um, I think one thing that's super important to the company is getting this project right, which is why the leaders keep putting the brakes on. They keep being like, well, what about this thing? Let's pause it for a week and investigate. Like we're changing a core business metric. We can't just like do that willy-nilly. It needs to be very thoughtful. Um, but then competing with that, I know for my team, it is really important for them to get me back. I've been hearing from a lot of them, like when will you have capacity again to join us? So there is this competition between what's best for the team and me, and then what's best for like the company overall.
Okay. So at this point, I want to invite others to contribute to the conversation. Thanks for your patience and listening, everyone. Any kinds of questions you would pose to Jackie, especially open-ended questions that might help to further illuminate what's going on, thereby helping Jackie think about the possibilities. Eric, Seth, anything that you would like to offer in terms of questions or insights, what you're hearing?
Yeah, I was just curious, Jackie. You said you're um the main SME on this project, but are you the only one? Like, is there anybody to share the burden with or
Hmm.
pass on to so that you can get a little bit of a breather?
Yeah, not really. It's me, and then it's a senior manager who's been helping me with like the strategic planning, communication, direction. And then there's like head of our department who communicates like the changes. But there hasn't been like I don't have a peer that I could lean on. I could lean on the manager a little bit more, but he's also managing a lot of things.
Yeah. Is the project done? Or is it just keep changing? I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a little bit of both. It is very nearly done, but they keep moving the goalposts on it. They keep hearing me being like, or my boss being like, here's what we're delivering. And they're like, what if we didn't like, what if you did this thing in addition? Um, so like the current deliverable is done. I'm ready to pull the trigger. But they're like, but wait, what if we did this? Like, what if we measured it in this other way? What if like we need to put the brakes on? So I think that's been the frustration is like the scope of the project started very small. And then every time we're delaying it, it's because they're asking me in particular to add on more and more and more without realizing that they're asking it in that way, I think.
Yeah, it's frustrating. I mean, that really sounds like a management issue more than um, a project issue. So, I mean, I would just highlight that with your supervisor, be like, look, this is practically done, but we keep changing it, and you're gonna keep reworking this, it's gonna fall apart. Like,
Hmm.
you know, it's just turn in the assignment and then go from there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And like maybe there you can be a leader and you can be proactive and sort of mapping out like, it seems like the initial scope of work, which was focused on X, Y, and Z, or was designed to be this, is, complete. And as soon as we wrap this up, then we could consider, is there second stage, third stage, and so forth, kind of breaking it down into chunks. So then at least you can go, okay, check, like, yes, we've received the payment or whatever, the arrangement is in terms of that. And now if there is a desire to continue um, exploring possibilities, then that would be a separate scope of work, right? So there is an end. I think that's important to look at, building off of what Eric was addressing, and then also there's this issue of like I'm not able to contribute to the team in this, and this ways because this project continues to go on, kind of focusing on that because it's kind of like you're on this island over here, and then the rest of your team is like over here doing their thing, and you're like, but wait, what about me? And so,
Yeah.
how do you, kind of come back to your team, if that is the intention? And so, kind of highlighting some of that as well. So make it less about you,
Yep. Hmm.
and it's really not about you. It's about your team. It's about their KPIs, their goals, right? What they're responsible for delivering and how you fit into that, how you advance that, right? And it is about this project and getting this wrapped up and then moving on so that you can do other projects.
Hmm.
But I think really focusing on the company goals, your supervisor's goals, your team's, the deliverables that your team is responsible for, and so forth, and just like take yourself out of it as much as you possibly can. So it's not like a Jackie problem or something. It's, oh yeah, no, this is like these are the things that we need to be focusing on, to move things forward.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I have a one-on-one with my boss later. I will have to think about the right way to um, frame it, but this was super helpful.
Excellent. How timely. I encourage you to write some things down after we get off the call, and just kind of, organize your thoughts, write down a couple bullet points, and yeah, look forward to hearing how it goes.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thanks for sharing. All right. Any other thoughts about Jackie's situation before we move on? Probably to one more person for today in terms of some live coaching. Okay, thanks for sharing, Jackie. All right, I'm going back to the chats. I saw something from Eric. Eric, are you interested in some live coaching?
Sure.
All right, awesome. Tell us a little bit more about your situation,
Yeah,
please.
just a little context for folks. Yeah, I was working and living in New York City for a long number of years, and my network was there. And then a little over a year ago, I moved back to Boston. I'm from here, and then was working remote. And then surprise, got laid off. Thanks, Trump. So my network is primarily like in New York, and by the virtue of my career, very international in focus. So I don't have a huge network in Boston. And I'm trying to look for a job locally. I was doing like international nonprofit work. I'm now more interested in like transit and urban planning and design and things like that. And just looking for ways to find people to talk to guide me in this career transition and building out a network here in the city.
All right, thanks for the context. So to recap, you're in a place that you don't have a robust network. You're familiar with the area, but you don't have, a lot of connections necessarily. So, what do you do when you're in the midst of figuring out your next steps, looking for work? And we know how important relationships are for finding out about opportunities and getting referrals and introductions and all of that. So it's very wise that you are thinking a lot about the who, the network. So one of the things I would ask is, since you have developed your focus and you have some areas you've identified that you're interested in, what kinds of professional, let's say, industry associations might you be able to discover and connect with before you're even an official professional in that space, that would help you learn more about the space and grow your network? Any ideas?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is like there's like I'm not a planner, but planners are a big part. So there's like professional planning networks, right? There's also the kind of the quasi-government agencies like the Metropolitan Planning Organization and kind of all the regional planning organizations. Um, there's advocacy groups out the wazoo in around Boston. Um, yeah, so I mean, those are some initial ideas, right?
Absolutely. So, in terms of taking some steps to explore some of those, where would you say you are right now?
I mean, I've been digging through websites of a couple of like, the Metropolitan Planning Organization and other similar um, organizations. I'm kind of just trawling LinkedIn for connections. Um, yeah, I mean, I think I'm at that point where I kind of I'm starting to get a pretty good idea of who the players are. And I mean, not individuals, but kind of like the groups and whatnot. And so I'm really kind of interested in how I can start to approach them beyond just kind of like sending a cold call email being like, hey, I want to do something with you guys. Yeah, and really kind of because I'm really looking for kind of guidance as to like what the next steps would be like with these like what their professional advice would be like if I wanted to get kind of more involved and think about turning this into some type of career. Um, yeah.
Sure. So one of my favorite hacks is to sign up for the email lists for the organizations that you are highly interested in. These could be places that are organizations you could directly see yourself working at. These can also be umbrella organizations that convene or fund a lot of the kind of work that you're interested in, say foundations as one example. There are publications that are great clearinghouses. For instance, when you look at higher education or philanthropy or what have you, there are these like key organizations that really are aggregators and conveners, and they're kind of taking that big picture view, and they probably have excuse me, some element of journalism and thought leadership and convening going on. So you want to be looking for those that touch the spaces that you're interested in. So just an example, I used to do work in government and I've done some consulting as well. And one of the organizations that I've done some work with is the National Conference of State Legislatures. So they work with state legislatures across the US and they publish issue papers and they convene conferences and so on and so forth. So if somebody were interested in state government, that would be a good entity to subscribe to their email list, follow them on LinkedIn, look at their newsletters, annual report, see what kinds of events they have coming up online and in person, so that you can really be absorbing some of their content, learning about how they talk about the issues, what language they use, what kinds of things they're covering or talking about, and where you can go to be around the kinds of people who are also into those topics. Some of those will be staff from the organization, some of them will be board members, some of them will be partners or funders or other interested parties, consultants, like policymakers, the list goes on. So that would be my recommendation when you're trying to get to know a space, especially one you're not super familiar with, is to find a few of those organizations, absorb some of their content, and see what events they have going on that you can go to so you can be in contact with those people. It's a very strategic, efficient way to go about this. But what I like about it is it's also relational. It's not transactional. You are learning about that industry or that community. You are genuinely interested. You are going to the events that they are hosting. You are reading or listening to the content that they are creating. So you're learning, you're taking in information and you're being open and curious. You're, putting yourself in situations where you can be in contact with these people. From there, sure, you might make a couple new connections. You might invite somebody out for a walk or coffee or extend an invitation to them for an event that's coming up that you think they might be interested in, or share some other resource with them that seems relevant. But I would say that's like step two. And step one, I would really recommend is what I've described. Questions or thoughts from Eric, and then we'll also open it up.
I have no, I mean, that's all great. That's my thought.
Okay, very good. One final thing I'll say about it is you want to think about who you already know, who maybe could be a buddy at one of these events, right? You have a friend who works at the T. Great. Are they going to the, Transit Matters trivia night in a few weeks at such and such pub in Cambridge or Somerville? Are they, like what, how do you kind of take, oh, there's this event and oh, there's this person I already know. Could we maybe go to it together? And then maybe they can introduce me around a little. It'll be nice to see them anyway, even if I didn't even meet anybody else there. But we're in this environment where the topic is what I'm interested in learning more about. I'm around these kinds of people. And so it's like putting yourself into the environment that you say you want to be a part of, right? As opposed to expecting people to come to you or like carve out special time to have a one-on-one. Like those things can be fine, but it's usually not how I would start the process. I would go to where the people are already gathered, who are the kinds of people you want to be in contact with, who are thinking about, talking about, and working on the kinds of things you think you want to be involved in. And then, more one-on-ones will result from there. So think about how you can kind of match people you already know with perhaps opportunities like events that are coming up and see how that might actually be enjoyable and a mutually beneficial arrangement. Thoughts, questions about that from Eric, and then we'll move on to other folks. Any other insights or additions?
I thought that was a nice pithy thing, like go to where the people are.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's like, if somebody says to me, hey, I really want to get into quilting. I'll be like, great. Who in your area is doing quilting? I don't know. Okay. Well, how are you going to find out? Oh, well, and then there's like all these different ways you can find out who's into quilting in your little area, right? And it's the same exact thing for like anything else, you know? So yeah. Okay. Awesome. Okay. So we have um time to start talking about some next steps. So thinking about what you're going to be committing to for yourselves, and we might get to do a tiny bit of coaching around this. I'd like everybody to put into the chat, what is one specific next step you are committing to yourself to take between now and next time? And next time will be within the next, let's say 6 weeks or so. We'll set the date today before we leave. And we have a suggestion in the chat from Jackie. Jackie, do you want to share anything about that? Please feel free.
Yeah, I'll just voice it over. I have found that by going regularly to either Boston Green Drinks or a run club, just somewhere where interesting people are going, it's not directly networking. It's more of just like I'm putting myself in a room with interesting people, but by then having repeated FaceTime, oh, my friend is working in this industry or whatever, it winds up like broadening your community in a way that people, you will wind up finding people, but it's not a direct networking, but that's kind of what I like about it.
Awesome. So finding activities where you're going to come in contact with different people and just kind of seeing who you meet and going with the flow, no specific agenda. It's going to be a mix of people. Maybe you go with a friend, maybe you go on your own, but it's a way to broaden your network and like come in contact with, some new folks. Thank you for that. Absolutely. Okay. Also, I'll just add like one thing that can help with that is to have kind of like a goal. Like, I'm going to go to one in-person event a week. It can be like whatever you choose, but just that. right? Keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it. All right, so I'll be quiet and let's have everybody add in the chat one specific next step you're committing to yourself to take between now and next time. Might be career related, might be something else. All right, excellent. You've all had a chance to put down a thought. Now we'll do some quick coaching around this to help make it really doable. So I'm just gonna call on folks. You feel free to pass if you want. Eric, when you say you've got some learning to do, what is a specific next step that you're planning on?
Well, as I think I've mentioned to you before, Eric, I hate desk research, but I think I need to actually do it. And really start kind of digging into um, like what's actually happening. Um, like, annual reports or, transit plans or, urban development plans for the next couple of years or whatever. Um, yeah. So gonna download some annual reports and get out a cup of tea and start reading.
All right. So, I'm going to offer a couple links in the chat that, these are examples. Just, if you were to go on any of these websites and click around, I'm going to share my screen for a moment because I want to kind of show how I would go about this. We'll use Transit Matters as an example. I just saw their previous executive director at an event the other night. When you come on a website, you want to just kind of get a feel for, okay, how's this set up? Well, they're asking for donations. So chances are it's a nonprofit. um, Join our mailing list. Okay. Call to action, right? That is a clear step that I can take if I want to know more about what they have going on. That's exactly what I recommended folks do. So I would definitely go there, sign up for the mailing list, use whatever filters in your inbox help you keep track of stuff in a way that you like. And that's, something that you would want to prioritize to look at if they're sending out a weekly newsletter or monthly or whatever it might be. But really going in and looking at those emails and seeing what are they talking about and how are they talking about it. That's going to be very informative and so don't knock it. Like annual reports are great, don't get me wrong, but how many annual reports you really going to want to, sit around and go through, especially if you're not somebody who loves kind of like research at the computer, right? So how do we fast track this and make it so like you actually don't have to spend a ton of time at the computer if you don't want to? So I would come on, get a sense, how's this set up? Okay. Become a member. Well, maybe I want to do that. Maybe right now I just want to see what the membership levels are. Can I join for like $30 a year? Okay. Register as a member, donate at least $40 on the donate page. Why might I want to become a member? Just go ahead and throw it in the chat. Why might I want to become a member of an organization that does what I say I'm very interested in? Assuming I've confirmed that yes, I believe in what they do and I think, there's alignment here and so forth. What just any ideas in the chat? Why might I, or come off mute? Why would I maybe want to become a member? There's an opportunity for partnership. Yeah, Jason, do you want to say more about that?
Yeah, I mean, if there's just strategic alignment and there's, I guess, mutual like, and everyone is on the same page, like there could be opportunities for who knows what. So strategic partnership for sure.
Awesome. Eric, you had an idea as well. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of organizations, they have memberships. They're like, you get priority access or, first on the scene access to tickets or whatever, to whatever events, and a good place to network.
Sure. Yeah. So, imagine you're the executive director or membership director or marketing director or what have you of an organization. And you're trying to think about who to work with on something, whether it's you need a consultant or you're hiring or you need board members or you need volunteers for an event or you need people to join in on an advocacy campaign or this or that, right? Lots of reasons you might be looking for humans. And so who are you going to go to? Well, you're going to go to your base, right? Just like if you're a political candidate or an elected official, you're going to go to your base. Those are like the people you can count on. You know that there's alignment there. You know they've already taken some kind of action to support your cause. They've given money, even if it's only like $40, right? It doesn't have to be thousands or millions of dollars. It could be like $40, right? But they've done a thing to say, I believe in what you do. I support what you're working on. There's just that forms this link. And so when they're then you will be in their database for better or worse, right? But think of it as a two-way street, right? Because now, yes, you have certain access. They are more likely to say, yeah, I'll meet with you for coffee if you're a member because you have a stake, right? You have taken an action to form some kind of alliance with them. And so I wouldn't say go join every organization that has anything to do with the issues you're interested in. But if there are 3 to 5 organizations, especially in your local community, that seem really aligned with what you think you want to do, I would say absolutely go, invest $100 or $200 to become a member of those 3 to 5 organizations for a year and then engage with them, right? It's not enough to just be a member, but it's a starting point. Then, okay, what are they working on? Look at all these different things that they're tracking. Maybe you discover, hey, I'm really interested in this data dashboard. Is this online? Is this working? Is it up to date? Like, can I learn anything from it? Oh, I'm really interested in this aspect. Let me look at that data, right? Jackie's in data. So and I think Jason likes data too. So, you come on here and it's like, oh, look at these dashboards. Like, huh, interesting. Let me play around, right? Dig into what they're working on. It's going to help you develop more of an awareness and familiarity and appreciation with what they have going on. So then if you do go to one of their events or an event that these kinds of people would be at, it's going to give you something to actually talk about with people, right? Like, oh, hey, did you see the dashboard on the Transit Matters website that shows you blah, blah, blah? Like that's really fantastic. Look at that kind of transparency that they're creating, right? So they use this data to shape their advocacy, which I think is really awesome. So, you know, make a donation, et cetera, et cetera. Join us about like, you want to be taking a look at those things. If you hop back onto the homepage, you'll see, there's read all about their organization, who's on their board, read the bios for their staff, learn about how they advocate. That in an hour on their website, you could learn a ton and hopefully probably have some fun doing it. This is Jared in the front right hand corner, who I just was at an event with the other night. So he's now at, I think it's Tool Design. He's no longer the executive director of Transit Matters, but still in that world of planning and transportation and so forth, but now at a for-profit in a different role. So anyway, that is how I would, just in a few minutes kind of start to come get a sense of like, what are they working on? How do they talk about things? I would definitely check out their blog, read at least a couple articles there to just get a sense of their voice and what they're focused on and, how they're positioning themselves as an organization. Okay, so let's see other people's next steps here, and then we'll choose our meeting date before we head out the door. Thank you for indulging me, giving you a tour there. So let's see. Jason, what's your specific next step, please?
I think I said something about social media, just leveraging it better. I was off of it for literally 10 years. So now it's like an entire world has opened up and all my answers are like right there for the taking. And, if you ever watched Survivor before, I could have been on the show. I definitely could have been on at one point when I was like in like triathlon shape and whatnot, but now I can't. But it's very strategic. And if you're on the verge of getting voted out, like what do you got to do? You got to kind of scramble and like rejoin different alliances and whatnot. So like,
So
it's all
Jason,
there
let
for
me
the.
ask you, what
It,
one platform, if you were to choose one platform to focus on for the next 6 weeks, what would that platform be?
strategically multiple. I have a
Okay,
Twitter and I have a LinkedIn.
fair
So
enough. All right, very good.
they
So
go
get
hand in
going on
hand.
those.
It's kind of like I guess like the Twitter. I don't have any followers per se, but it's kind of like underground. So it's like interesting. But I see how many people like look at the things and it's a lot. So I mean, I don't
Great.
know, but
Yeah,
you know,
definitely something there to keep exploring. And we're going to go to Jackie before we run out of time. Thanks, Jason. Jackie,
yeah.
what's your specific next step?
I was just responding to our earlier conversation where I'm going to have a conversation about the project and either deliver it or at least find a way to say, hey, if this is not the priority to deliver, I want to come back to my team and start delivering value there.
All right. Excellent. Keep us posted. Wishing you the best of that conversation. All right. So we're going to set our next meeting date. You all have some work to do between now and then. Also, if you don't already have an accountability buddy, or as I call them, capability buddies, and you would like to, you can network among yourselves to find someone to be your capability buddy. So feel free to put your email in the chat if you like, or you can communicate through our online portal and message about, what you're looking for in terms of a capability buddy and what you have to offer. If you have kind of a desired frequency or format, in person, online, what have you. And folks have found those to be very helpful for having somebody to cheer them on, celebrate with, share what you're committing to do, and have that added layer of accountability and support while also growing your network. So that is available to you as a member of this community. Looking at the calendar for February, I am looking at either Wednesday, February 18th or Wednesday, February 25th. Do we have any preferences?
25th is better for me. I'm not going to be in town the week before, but
All
don't
right, I'm
let me
saying
if it's other.
either works for me. We have a preference for the 25th. Any issues with the 25th? All right, the 25th it is. Eric, have a great trip, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.